almost ready to go in Dingwall.
And they have struck for a second time in quick succession.
Can he steal one for Motherwell? He has. And they found the momentum that Ross County just can't buy at the moment.
It's sumptuous, and County have gobbled it up. It's a rout.
Across, yeah! Oh, yes, right! Well, Spittle, and it does though! Gone to REGAN Charles Cook! Welcome back to RCFCTV.
RCFCTV.
An absolutely massive match here at the Global Energy Stadium.
What a wonderful finish by REGAN Charles Cook. Yes, in from Ross CALLACHAN.
Charles Cook in red hot form, and the master chef does it again. Charles Cook, oh, what a goal once again, unbelievable stuff. And there's HUNGBO. What a hit from HUNGBO.
Fabulous spot kick from HUNGBO.
It's a huge 3 points for Ross County, vital in the fight. That is spirit, that is character.
It's a good time to be a Staggy.
Welcome to RCFCTV for our season review of 21-22. It's been another roller coaster campaign that has ended in a top 6 finish, albeit that European football was one step too far. Joining me, as he has throughout the entire campaign, is Stephen CRAIGAN. Stephen, the dust has just settled on the final game of the season. What a campaign it's been.
It's been terrific. You know, I think at the start there was a little bit of trepidation because there was major surgery in the squad over the summer. Quite a lot of experienced players had left. A new manager had come in, trying to integrate so many players together. So if you'd said at that stage that the club would be a top flight club come the end of the season, I think everyone in here would have been delighted. But you know, the progress from the squad throughout the season, some of the results was absolutely terrific. So it was another good season.
Now, as we came into the last game of the season, there was almost a sense of a slight disappointment that European football had slipped away, but that the achievement of making the top 6 was still there, and that mustn't be forgotten about.
I think when people look back in years to come, when they look back at this season, this squad will be remembered because a lot of people had written them off after 10 games. You know, we can't get away from the fact that just 3 points. So if you'd even have mentioned European football to anyone back in October after losing 3-2 here against Livingston, that 95th minute goal, and it didn't just hurt the players and the staff and the manager, the supporters, and even us working on the TV channel, it impacted us because we didn't know what direction then the squad was going to take or the season was going to take. So the fact that they took it into the last game of the season or the last couple of games of the season for European football is a marker of the mentality, the strength of character, personality, resilience, from management to owner to players. Everything just came together for them. And to miss out, yes, it's disappointing, but as I say, in years to come when they look back, they'll think, what an achievement that was from where they were.
That was a big call to bring in Malky Mackay as the new manager. How important a figurehead is he at this club?
Well, when I think back to that day, when they lost 3-2 against Livingston here, and players can always go into their shell, but you always wonder where a manager gets his inspiration from. And having someone at the top of the club who's experienced, who's been there before, and doesn't change his message. It would have been easy for Malky after that game to come in and rip things up and try and do something different. The players would have recognised that. The players would have realised he's not too sure what he's doing. But to stick to the message, to push them out again, and then to get that huge win at Dundee shows his strength of character. And I think that reverberates onto the players. And that's why the club and the team have gone from strength to strength.
Well, that's perfect timing, because now we can hear from the man himself. Ross County manager Malky Mackay is with Jamie Lyle.
Well, Malky, when you took over this football club, you asked supporters to hold on for the ride ahead, and quite a ride it's been, hasn't it, as you look back over the past 10 months or so?
Yeah, it has been a bit of a roller coaster. When you look at it, you know, right from the very beginning, we obviously had a very small squad. A lot of players had been released. There was quite a bit of news concerning that at the time. We had that to combat, and then you know, managed to try and get players in. We spoke to an awful lot of players and managed to finally get 10 or 12 in the door. So that being the case, it's one of those ones where we managed to get back involved again, get it going. and get a new group of players trying to play with each other and understand the style in which I wanted us to play.
How tough was it to get that across in quite a short and, as you mentioned, COVID disrupted period of time?
I spoke to the owner and Stephen Ferguson and talked to him about talent identification and how important that would be going forward for the football club for a longer term strategy over a period of time. Then I've realised that the actual personality of the player is just as important, as the talent, because they've all got talent if they're playing at a certain level, but the idiosyncrasies of actually their individual personalities makes a huge difference at a football club. There's plenty of talent out there. How that talent does really has got a lot to do with the mindset of the person, being open to change.
That trust must have been vital in that difficult period early in the season. I think 10 games, 3 draws, no wins at the start of the league campaign. How vital was the relationship you built with the players?
Yeah, I mean, it's great credit to them that they actually were open-minded about that. I think the repetition of what we were doing, the detail of the work that we were doing and the explanation to them, it's like anything with change. I think the more you explain why something's been changed and how we were going to change, the more open you are and the more transparent you are with that, the easier it is for people to embrace it in all walks of life. And I think as far as the players were concerned, that was shown every day to them as to why we were doing something and what the outcome could be. And I think what the players began to do is also they began to realise how each other played, and as the games went on, they grew in confidence as to how each other would play, and they got into the way that I wanted to play. So that being the case, then by game 10, obviously when the change comes and we managed to get the win over at Dundee, albeit didn't think we were going to win by 5, but that win was coming, to be honest with you.
Can he drive County into a 5-goal lead? It's Charles Cook again, wonderful. It's a Staggy symphony. Charles Cook doubles up.
How proud are you that the players stuck with things, the fans stuck with you?
I'm really proud of the players and the staff, the ownership and the fans at the football club to all embrace something together, to park ego at the door and to actually really push in the one direction together. When that happens at a football club once every now and again, you do get modicums of success. And I think the fact that we hadn't had fans for a year and a half in the stadium, people were a bit reticent to come back to football. It's a new manager, it's a brand new team. But I think gradually as the season went on, more and more fans were talking about it, talking about results, talking about the team, and we're starting to come back to where the end, against Celtic, obviously full house here.
It feels ridiculous to be asking you this, Malky, but is there a tinge of disappointment that you're not going to be in a European qualifier in a month and a half's time?
I suppose everybody'd have to ask that. You'd have to ask that independently, but I certainly felt that in the little mini league between ourselves, Motherwell and Hearts, ourselves, Motherwell and Dundee United, we were as good as both of those teams. If I'd thought we'd gone into the last 5 games, not accounted ourselves well, and had the tools down, then things would have been different. But honestly, I look at the team on a day-to-day basis, and I can't be disappointed by one player that we've got.
What comes next? How do you build on the platform that you've laid?
Well, that's the challenge ahead. We've got to make sure that we refill the squad. As I say, right now we've got 10 players that at the moment won't be here next year. So we've got to try and replace those 10 and maybe add to that as well. So it's another summer of massive change in the recruitment side of it that I'd like over a period of time for that to lessen, and we will get there, but we're still dealing with historic situations with contractually. So we've got players who have signed contracts that are going to keep them at the club again, and there's a good solid base to that, and we need to work round about it. But they know in 4 weeks' time what it is they're coming back to in the way that we generally would like to play.
Is the end goal to shift the dial in terms of how Ross County are perceived, talked about?
It's definitely one of my goals when I came to the football club. I don't want us to be known as Little Ross County. I want us to be, people just look at the badge, they come to this stadium realising it's going to be a tough game, and realising it's a team that are going to be going toe-to-toe with anyone in the league and can beat anyone anywhere. But again, that comes with structure, it comes with believing in the process that we've got here over a longer period of time.
How much have you enjoyed being back in the dugout?
A lot. I've really enjoyed it. Some days more than others, to be honest with you, but I really enjoy the people of Dingwall. I enjoy Ross County Football Club. I've been given the ability to come in and actually put my stamp on a lot of parts of the football club. I'm delighted with the ability that I've had to do that, and the warmth of the people that are around the club, and the people that want to come on board with that sort of journey.
Malky, it's been incredibly fun following the journey, following the team that you've put out there. Well done on a fantastic season. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jamie.
Well, there's no doubt, as you've mentioned, that it was a tough start. It had to turn somewhere, and it did at Dens Park in spectacular fashion.
People didn't see that result coming. People didn't see the performance coming. People that I'd spoke to just said they're struggling, they're probably going to get relegated. That was without actually watching them play. And although results weren't great in the opening 10 games, there wasn't a lot wrong structurally. They'd actually played okay. They were shooting themselves in the foot at times. So there was a combination of things where if they could be fixed, small changes, and everything came together, they could go on a run. But you're right, that night in Dundee was explosive. Some of the goals they scored, I know, Joseph HUNGBO, I think, got goal of the season, and various websites and contributors. A wonderful game. And the players grew from that moment.
Was that it was the nature of that win where we saw the wide men, Joseph HUNGBO and Regan Charles Cook? It gave an indication of what was to come, and it must have just built the confidence within that squad, because from there, even though games didn't come thick and fast, which is actually another point, they managed to keep results coming.
It was actually such a big week because the Dundee on the Wednesday, I think they lost Livingston the Saturday, away to Dundee on the Wednesday, due to play Hibs on the Saturday. So after you've got your first win, you're right, you're due to play Hibs at home. Game called off because of COVID. Your next game is at Ibrox away. Then that Hibs game's rearranged for another 2 weeks. So you went a long period of time, and the concern would have been that momentum goes, and you almost forget about that victory. But they didn't. They then beat Hibs here 1-0, Blair Spittle coming off the bench and having that cross come shut. But you're right, the players started to trust in the manager a little bit more. The manager always spoke throughout the season about evidence, giving them evidence. And it's fine giving them evidence when you're winning, but when you're not winning, you're trying to convince them to go with you. And again, that's the experience coming through. And that result probably convinced everybody he does know what he's talking about.
And surely the home form in 2022 was the main focus point for that, because there was that long, unbeaten run here in Dingwall.
Yeah, and when you think leading up to Christmas when the results were good, albeit they lost at Tynecastle on Boxing Day, you then have that winter break where you come back into it. First game here, 3-1 against Motherwell. Didn't particularly play well, but found a way to win. Then HUNGBO started to shine even more, and Regan Charles Cook just continued his form. They had 3 wins in a week. I remember speaking to Roy MacGregor ahead of the first one against St Johnstone here, and he said if we could get 5 or 6 points, I'd be happy. And I thought, well, if you could go through these 3 games unbeaten, but to get 9 out of 9, get 2 clean sheets, you know, tough game here against St Johnstone, but I thought they were good on the day. Great win against Motherwell, backs to the wall, had to defend, get a dodgy penalty, but sometimes it goes for you. And then another penalty here against St Mirren when I thought they were the better team.
And it says something that a team can go to Pittodrie and win to clinch that top 6 place.
And they needed to win. When you look at results now, they needed to win. It came so late in the game. I mean, they had a clear penalty that wasn't given. The penalty that was given, maybe a little bit dubious, but they think these things even themselves out. But then the composure from young Joseph HUNGBO. You have to remember, he hasn't even had 50 senior appearances in football. He may be, what, 22 or 23 years of age, but he hasn't had many senior games. Still quite an immature young man as in football terms. So to step up and put that penalty in and clinch the top 6, it was probably relief on one hand, but again, you really fancied him at that stage of the season for European football, because some teams were sliding and they were on the climb. So it was a marvellous day.
That, of course, was the final victory of the season. But that's the nature of being in the top 6. You're playing against teams, Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, who are all fighting for big, big prizes.
It is, and you know, they would rather have been in the top 6 and battling for European football rather than where they were at this stage last season when they had to go to Fir Park and win to stay in the league. So that just showed the progression and the complete turnaround from the squad and the manager and the kind of feeling within the club. Now it's about grasping it and trying to make yourself even better next year as a team, the manager and recruitment and players and the mentality to think we want to get back there next year and we want to make it better.
Well, he's had a couple of mentions so far. I'm sure he's going to have more, because the outstanding player on the pitch this season for Ross County was undoubtedly Regan Charles Cook, Player of the Year, Players' Player of the Year, and joint top scorer in the Scottish Premiership. And he's now with Jamie.
Charles Cook! Oh, what a goal once again! Unbelievable stuff!
Regan Charles Cook, joint top Cinch Premiership goal scorer for the season. If I'd told you that a year ago, would you have believed me?
Not at all. It's been wonderful. It's actually been very wonderful, but I wouldn't have done it without the boys behind me and the staff. Like, every single goal, they have a part to play in, and yeah, sharing that award with them is a pleasure, so yeah.
For sure. Take me back to last season, because it was a difficult first campaign in the Highlands for you. You swapped the hustle and bustle of London for the not so much hustle and bustle of Inverness.
Yeah, it was very tough because obviously I couldn't go back home or anything, couldn't really socialise with the boys up here. And they're great boys, but I didn't get to be able to see their outside personality outside of football. And it was really tough. And when you're not really enjoying it at home, it sometimes goes onto the pitch. But now this year, since we've been able to bond and go for little things like coffee and just spend time with each other, we've created such a family bond, and after take that onto the pitch, and it's just brought out the best out of me. I'm smiling every day. Every single day I'm coming into training with a big smile on my face, and every single day I'm leaving training with a big smile on my face. So the transition this past 12 months has been incredible, and I just thank everybody who's been behind me with it and still believed in me, because there was even a shout before a training. They were like, "Oh, wow, we must have signed Regan's twin brother last year." And it was very funny because wow, they just saw a different personality of me, and I was just smiling, kind of a smiley boy, and it's just been so enjoyable.
What's been key then to the transformation in you and in this team from relegation scrappers to European contenders?
I think the big thing here is belief. The manager and the staff has implemented a way of belief that you've never known. The way you believe in yourself and the way you believe in each other and your other peers, yeah, it's different. It's different belief, and it's the people in the building, people around the club. When you get along with everybody and everyone's just honest, respectful, and just all together, it works wonders.
Have you got a favourite goal of the 13 that you scored? Is there a moment that stands out to you as you look back on this fine campaign?
I think my favourite goal is probably St Johnstone at home, because I think it's one of the only goals I actually scored outside the box. But yeah, that's probably my favourite goal, because in training every day, cutting in and shooting, it paid off.
I'm sure you've got a seminal summer ahead of you, some big decisions to make. I guess whatever the future holds, though, Ross County will be a very special place for you and have a very special place in your heart. Of
course, I'm going to go away for a little bit. Then after, I'm going to discuss with my agent and family, and Ross County, this is a turning point in my life. They've been here for me, and the family. It's not just the people in the building, it's the fans as well. That's always been behind me, and they've always had my back, and the way I see them flying the Grenadian flag as well. It's yeah, this place will always hold a special place in my heart, regardless of what happens, and I thank everybody as well, so yeah.
Well, Regan, you're the club's Player of the Year, you're the Players' Player of the Year, you're the joint top goal scorer in the Cinch Premiership this year. Congratulations on a terrific season.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Well, Regan will get the recognition for the goals, 13 of them in all, but his all-round play was outstanding. Just how good was his season?
Well, when you take into consideration how stop-start last season was for him, I don't think many people believed he could get to the level he got to or would have the impact that he had. But sometimes something clicks for you, whether it's a manager, whether it's a system, whether the ball falls right for you. And from when he got his first goal of the season against Aberdeen, he continued to grow. You know, chances came along. At times he didn't overly play well in games, but he had that little clinical edge to his game where he took his chances. Opposition were wary of him. Left foot, right foot, penalties. And it was great to just see him enjoying himself, whereas the previous season we knew he had issues. He wasn't really settling. He wasn't comfortable. He wasn't playing as much as what he wanted. So when that all starts happening as a player, you start enjoying your football a little bit more.
Well, Regan was part of a group a fairly small group of players, it has to be said, that remained from the previous season and formed part of the core group of the first team.
And you need a core group where, as a manager, you can rely on them and trust them, and you know what you're getting from every single player. When you think of Jordan TILLSON and Jordan White and Blair Spittle and Alex Shakavari, Keith Watson when he comes into the side, you know what you're getting, and I should probably mention Ross Laidlaw, you know what you're getting. They're good pros, they train well, they work hard, they'll be 6, 7s out of 10, but you need to then freshen up around the edges and bring in a little bit of quality just to help them along and try and push them over the line. And that's what happened. You know, when the likes of Joseph HUNGBO came in loan, Ross CALLACHAN came in midfield, Jack BALDWIN added to that core at the back.
Who impressed you the most?
Well, Jack BALDWIN, I think, because of his experience, he had a calmness and a real assurance about him, and he made the players around about him better. No coincidence that Alex Shakavari was better this season than he was last season. No coincidence that Conor Randall was better this season than he was last season. Jake Vogel's played quite a lot. You consider he broke his foot on the day before the season started, so that kind of set him back. And I just think the energy and the appetite and the hunger of Ross CALLACHAN added that little bit of steel in midfield. I said it before, he'll want more goals, he'll want to have more impact and more assists, but certainly those two, CALLACHAN and Jack BALDWIN, made a big impact for me.
Adding a bit of steel and a bit of experience to the team, Jack BALDWIN and Ross CALLACHAN are now with Andy Barch.
It's been your first season up at Ross County, similar for you, Ross, both coming up last summer. How do you reflect on it? We'll come to you first, Jack. With the new manager, a massive squad turnover, do you feel that expectations have been exceeded this season?
I think so. I think if you look at the start of the season, like you say, from the summer period that the club had a lot of players leaving, a lot of players coming in, the manager obviously trying to implement his own views and values on the club. I think to look back now, especially after the first 10 games, to sit where we are today, I think nobody probably would have put us up there. And yeah, it's been a fantastic first season for me personally.
Now we've got a couple of city boys here in Edinburgh and London. Have you both adjusted to life in the Highlands okay? You're both here for another couple of years as well, Ross, with your new contracted 2024.
This was the first time I'd moved away from home, so that was a wee bit a shock in itself, but the lads and the staff and the manager and everyone at the club made me feel right at home from the first day I came up here, so I can't thank them enough for that, and I'm just hopefully I can repay the club and their faith and do well for the next 2 years.
Jack, how have you found it?
Yeah, it's been, listen, I moved away from home when I was 18. I moved up to Hartlepool, which isn't the biggest town itself, so I'm used to being away in different areas, different environments, so obviously I think most of the boys staying in Inverness rather than Dingwall, but Inverness itself is great. I think it's helped having such a great group of lads to help you settle in, and that like I say, that's really helped me to settle down straight away and hit the ground running, definitely.
You must be content, Ross, you've just penned your new deal and hopefully continuing under Malky Mackay, because when he came in he said he wanted to instill a bit of an elite mentality at Ross County, bring methods and systems that he's done with the SFA and Watford and Cardiff down south up here. Just how impressed have you been with that?
Very impressed, and I think the gaffer on the main thing, he just makes the boys believe. It's just wee things he says to us, and we obviously do a lot of debriefs in the video and that, and we look at what we can do better, and I think that's just over the course, it's just built up, and that's why we got top 6. I think that's why we were so close to being in Europe.
You must share quite a good relationship with him, Jack, because now you're deputy captain behind Keith Watson.
Yeah. Obviously, when I spoke to the gaffer about coming up initially, he said that he was looking at my experience to bring me in and help quite a relatively young group with what would be a lot of loan players, and I think that experience down the road, I've had the armband down in England a couple of times, and I mean, I'm not the loudest person in general, but I think when it comes to footy, I try and just do the right things and set a good example for the boys and just try and be a good person around the club.
Now up here just after the winter break, Jack, Rangers 3-3 with Ross County, last minute equaliser from Wright, that was a high point too.
Yeah, it was a great game. Obviously we was 3-2 down going into the final stages, and obviously young Matty Wright comes off the bench and puts us level, which I think was a great moment for him and his family and for us as a group.
And I think maybe the ultimate tie from the season would be the Aberdeen game pre-split.
Aye, definitely. And you just seen how much it meant to people. Everyone, not just us as players, but everyone involved in the club, and like Susie, the kit women, and Fiona, and like people like that. That's who you do it for, and they've been here for years and they know what it means. So to be able to achieve that this season for us is great, and hopefully we can go on and do it again next season and maybe more.
Well, it's been a great season, guys. A pleasure to chat with you at the end of it, and we'll see you in the summer.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Andy. Cheers.
Now we hear from on-loan winger Joseph HUNGBO. The 22-year-old has certainly made his mark in Dingwall and has gone on to receive the Premiership Goal of the Season award for a free kick he scored away from home against Dundee earlier in the season.
Joe, Young Player of the Season, voted for by fans and your colleagues as well at the club. You must be delighted with the campaign you've had.
We're delighted with the season we've had. You know, we didn't really manage to get Europe. You know, that's what everyone really wanted, but at the end of the day, you know, people didn't think we'd do what we've done, and we, you know, proved a lot of people wrong. But I just want to thank, you know, the fans, players, staff, and everyone, you know, that was involved in the success this season.
On a personal level, have you done as well as you thought you might coming up here for a season-long loan spell?
I was surprised about, you know, how well I've done. I mean, I didn't think I'd do what I do, but, you know, sometimes, you know, with good form and good people around you, you know, you just, you know, embrace and, you know, express yourself in different ways, and I definitely feel like I've done that this season.
Well, you expressed yourself quite nicely at Dens Park with that free kick that was voted goal of the season. Do you think you'll ever score a better one?
No, I don't think I will ever score a goal like that, to be honest. Like, obviously it was my first professional goal, and you know, you don't really write things like that.
Well, it was maybe the best goal, but the most important one came at Pittodrie, the game before the split to seal top six. What do you remember about that occasion, and what was a huge moment for the club?
It was a very big moment for the club. I mean, you know, considering how we started, you know, the trials and tribulations we went through during the season, and I definitely feel like I wasn't as, you know, nervous as I had been. I felt like, you know, the shackles were off, you know, the pressure was off in my head. I had a cool head when I stepped up and took the penny. But at the end of the day, you know, I was just so happy for, you know, the boys. They work so hard tirelessly week in, week out.
Well, I think it's been a pleasure for the club and the fans and everyone else to have you here, but now on to the next step for you. Is the plan to go and make an impact back at Watford?
Yeah, the plan is to make an impact at Watford. I'm hungrier than ever. I feel like the season's been a real stepping stone in my career, and hopefully I can take that into Watford and, you know, see what I can do and see what happens from there.
Great, well, thanks very much, Joe. All the best.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Ross County captain Keith Watson and teammate Jordan Tilson are amongst the longest serving playing members at the club.
Keith, first of all, club captain, you've been here for 4 years now. What does this club mean to you? What's it all about?
I think it's just, you know, obviously I came up here, I wasn't sure what to expect. Obviously my wife's moved up as well, and just kind of just Ross County as a club. It's, you know, it's such a family club. You know, makes you feel so welcome, and it's a lovely part of the world up here as well. And you know, we've really embraced it, and that's why we've been up here so long, because we just enjoy it that much.
Jordan, I'm not sure there's a, geographically speaking, a longer transfer to make than Exeter to Dingwall in British football. What were your first impressions when you swapped the southwest coast of England for the Highlands of Scotland?
Yeah, it's obviously a long way, and the drive up was very scenic, especially coming up through the A9, and there's a different culture as well to come up to, and I've really enjoyed my time here, and since I've come up everyone's been so lovely and welcoming. It feels like a home to me now, so yeah.
What sets Ross County apart from previous clubs you've been at?
To be honest with you, I was at Exeter for a long time and I had a good bond with the people there, but it's grown since I've been here. I feel really settled, and people like Jim, the kit man, Suze, and everyone brings you in so well and so warm. So it's almost like a home, and everyone's together, and it means so much, yeah.
Keith, there was a massive turnover of players in the summer, a huge volume of experience walked out the door, and a lot of young players came in from unfamiliar leagues and for them, new surroundings. How important was your role as a captain, as a leader, in really instilling in them what this club and this culture is all about?
Yeah, I think it's obviously them kind of come up here, moving away from obviously their families and stuff. They're, you know, a lot younger as well. Kind of just giving them advice, you know, things to do. There's plenty of, you know, walks to go, and the boys are really together. We'll go and do stuff, go for coffees and things like that, and just make them feel as welcome as they can, asking them how they are, and I think the airport being up here helps quite a lot of them as well, so they can kind of go home after games and stuff like that. And I know a lot of their families come up visit and take in the games, and they all say they absolutely love it.
How far can this club go, Keith? What are the next steps for Ross County fans to enjoy next season?
I think obviously this season's been unbelievable. To get the top 6 was a massive achievement. I think we try and keep as much of the squad together as we can, and obviously we'll have another few faces coming in, so it'll be we're looking forward to next season.
Well, boys, congratulations on a terrific campaign in the Highlands. Go and enjoy your summer.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Ross County chairman Roy MacGregor has been the figurehead of the club for almost 30 years, leading them all the way from the Highland League to the SPFL Premiership, culminating this season in a 3rd top 6 finish for the club.
Roy, thank you very much for joining us. Another season comes to a close. I can imagine that you've got a lot of pride with what has gone on at the club this season. What has been your overriding emotion?
Yeah, I think the journey has been exhilarating, and I mustn't personally let the last few weeks dampen that, because we set out at the beginning of the season on a new road, and that road has had a few curves in it, but actually on reflection we're probably further ahead than I'd hoped. So I am going to wake up tomorrow morning and in reminiscing just try to plan next season, to start thinking about how we can add another 20% to what we got and make sure that our aspirations, which has been surviving in the Premier League, that I'd like to survive in the top 6 now we've had a taste of it.
I sensed that as much as there was the euphoria of surviving the previous season, that it wasn't something that you wanted to go through again, and you had a summer where you had to make some big decisions. Just how tough was that, and how happy are you with the outcome?
When you're a leader, you have to make tough decisions. So, in appointing Malky, it was something that had been in my mind for 7 years, but I didn't know that we had to have the opportunity to sort of work together. And I think after spending some time with him during the summer, realised that I was going to get more than a football manager, and I was going to get someone that would help rebuild this club and make sure that we didn't bounce about in the Premier League, but could become a permanent fixture. And I think, much as he's achieved a lot on the field, the club has achieved as much off the field, and we can look forward with great anticipation as we think of a new season.
That's something that I think we have sensed coming into the club as well, is that the club shows a belonging to the area, and how Malky has been a part of driving that culture within the club.
Yeah, that belonging is really important for a community club, and that goes for off the field and on the field. I think it's that sense of belonging. I think it's particularly peculiar in the Highlands, for an area as big as the Highlands with as few people. So that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that sense of diversity, that sense of, trying to prove people wrong, that sense of not wanting to fail, that sense of a bit of the history of what's gone on in this region over the last couple of 100 years. That sort of drives us forward, and it drove us to build the football academy here, and it now drives us to build a football club. And really, even today, as you look around the supporters, I think there's a sense of belonging in them. Players, chairmen come and go, but football fans are part of this club and are on a journey. And you saw youngsters, 3- and 4-year-old there today who are beginning the journey, and you've got greyheads like me that are near the end of the journey, and that journey gives people in this area a sense of belonging. And I think that you've seen probably over the last 2 or 3 months the reaction of the fans to the players and to the management.
So obviously it goes beyond what happens out there on the pitch, but you waited 7 years for your man. 10 games in, were you beginning to doubt your judgment?
No, I was more sure there than when I heard him, because there was a plan, there was a sense of direction. We didn't want to become a yo-yo club in the Premier League. You know, I think everyone behind the scenes, particularly at director level, was very sure that we had the right plan, we had the right person, and we just had to see it through. And you know, we grew as a team on and off the park, and it's gratifying that, you know, even today we finished 6th, and we can look forward to a season where we're going to try and build on that.
Getting back to normality must have been nice after, well, it's almost 2 years of COVID affected, to see this place back buzzing, to have away fans in.
Yeah, I've never seen as many beach balls as I've seen today. Yeah, it's great, and you need the away fan in the ground as well as the home fan. So that red zones and that 3 buses to matches and that testing every week was a sort of drain on enthusiasm throughout the club, and it was a bit stop-start. And football is about the fan. You know, the players are just, you know, the actors and the management and the board are custodians of the club, but the fan out in the terracing is the person that actually holds so much of what the club stands for.
Well, top 6 achieved. Europe was a step too far. What does the summer hold?
I think it's a chance for us all to refresh ourselves. I think everyone is tired. I think we need to take some time just to get refreshment into our bodies. And we need to make sure that recruitment is the key in this business. It's the key in most businesses, but particularly in the football business. So we need to make sure that we go out and attract the right people. We will have to rebuild a wee bit, but I think off the field we're in very good shape. We're further ahead than we've been at any time in the last 25 years, and we just need to make sure we get the on-field recruitment right and give Malky the best opportunity of getting into the top 6, and particularly maybe Europe.
Congratulations on a fine season.
Thank you, Rory.
Stephen, I know you, like me, have really enjoyed this whole experience of coming up to Dingwall, being taken in by the club. Has the whole RCFCTV experience been everything that you expected?
Probably more, because I think when you are part of the media and you come into a football club, some people are wary of what you're going to do, what you're going to talk about, or what questions you're going to ask, or how you're going to report on things. We were coming to work for the football club to try and present it in the best light we possibly could and try and reflect the feelings, and I suppose the inner feelings of Ross County out to a broader audience. You know, whether we've done that or not is up to other people to judge. But from the day we arrived, we were met with a warm smile, almost brought into with Rory McKenzie, who's in his 80s, used to be the kit man. They want to shake your hand and speak to you and almost want you to be part of their club.
You really do feel that connection. I think that's something that I have, there's probably been the main surprise coming into it. But after 2 years, and I don't know how many games now that I've done with you on RCFCTV, all I need to do is ask the questions. But I don't know how you come up with something new to say every week.
Well, I don't know if I do. Maybe people just forget what I've said the previous week. But certainly in the 2 seasons we've been here, you know, they stayed up last year, just about stayed in the division. This year they've got themselves top 6. Next season, if there's any progression, they should be European football, maybe even a Champions League spot, who knows?
What would you pick out as your highlight from the whole experience?
Probably a couple, and I would start with last season, staying up, because they were in such trouble. They go into the final 5 games of last season and pick up, 4 wins and a draw. Remarkable turnaround. John Hughes really got them going. But I think just at the end of this season, to see the progression, particularly when they're a bad start, see the progression and see people growing and see people flourishing, and those smiles that we were met with because we were coming here to work, actually being genuine and real because the team were winning. The atmosphere building, this place becoming a little bit of a fortress with 1 defeat in 10 games over Christmas. So all that comes together. And football's all about family and friends and smiles and enjoyment and winning. That's what we all want to do. When you're involved in football, even watching football, you want your team to win. So to seeing that all come to fruition and seeing the smiles in people's faces, I think that was the most important thing for me.
What will you miss more? Is it the fry up in the morning or the pints in the Mallard after?
What I will miss most is the fish and chips at House of Brew on the way home. I've never had as many fish and chips over 2 years of my life. I've loved it, and I'm heading off for one now.
Well, thank you very much for everything that you've put in this season and over the entire 2 years. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. Well, it's been an outstanding season on the pitch, and I know the players have been inspired by the return of the supporters, and they wanted to give this message to you.
The atmosphere, the noise is turned up in the Highlands. Tees up, Spittle, it's level! Well, that is the way to respond.
A new team.
A new leader. Patience was important.
Belief was key.
Your support was vital.
It's going to go all the way in. County have equalised. Oh, they deserve it.
We never gave up.
We wanted to make you proud. We wanted to achieve.
Shooting for the shot! Yes!
We found our formula.
We found our way forward. And we began to deliver for you.
Across, yeah! Oh, yes, good! Well, Spittle!
Our 5-0 victory in Dundee.
And County have gobbled it up! It's a rout!
Our 3-3 draw here against Rangers.
It's MacGregor, and it's in from Matthew Wright!
Our 1-0 win at Pataudry.
Fabulous spot kick from HUNGBO.
From a fortress here in Dingwall.
To our memorable away days.
That is character!
We are Ross County.
We are Ross County.
We are Ross County.
That is spirit!
We travelled all the miles.
Home and away, win, lose or draw.
It could have only been done with you beside us.
We are Ross County.
We are Ross County.
We are Ross County.
There's HUNGBO! What a hit from HUNGBO!
Our heartbeat.
Our 12th man.
Our army every step of the way.
And the Master Chef does it again!
We are Ross County.
We are Ross County.
We are Ross County. We are Ross County.
We are Ross County.